Joining me today are Steve Stussman, Vice President of Business Development with KBMax, and Jonathan Pop, Vice President of Digital and Technology with Zenith. They're here today to discuss architecting an omni-channel solution for CPQ and e-commerce. Welcome, Steve and Jonathan. Over to you.
Thanks, Marissa, and thank you for having us. Obviously, I'm honored to have one of our customers, Jonathan Pop, on here today to talk about a digital transformation that he led in using KBMax. So we'll talk a little bit about KBMax very briefly, and we'll talk a lot about the great products that Zenith offers and how Jonathan digitally transformed, led his organization through it. Jonathan, if you would mind, just introduce yourself to everyone and let them know a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Marissa, and thanks, Steve. My name is Jonathan Pop. I'm the VP of Digital and Technology over at Zenith. Been there for about 3.5, almost going on 4 years now, and really trying to drive a digital transformation in our industry and using our company to kind of do that. So really excited and look forward to our conversation today.
Yeah, well, thanks for being on with us. So, I think to set up the conversation for everyone is, people don't buy the way they used to. Sorry about the PowerPoint there. I think that's become, this is something that we said really prior to COVID, that people are changing the way they buy. And I think with COVID, everything's accelerated, where people really want, specifically B2B buyers, they want an Amazon-like experience, and they want it now. They want the best. They want to be able to visualize everything. And I think with COVID, everything's accelerated dramatically. And, as we talk about, are you ready for Industry 4.0? I mean, a lot of people, the simplest explanation I can have for Industry 4.0 is this. Basically applying technology to take the customer's needs and apply them and get them to the shop floor as fast as possible with as fewest steps in between. As we've done, over the years, you hear about supply chain and automating supply chains and just-in-time materials. Information is really the new material, and how quickly can we get what the customer wants into the manufacturing hands. And I really think that's a good way to frame up what we did with Zenith and Industry 4.0. And, it used to be with manufacturing, the salespeople would talk to the customer, and then the customer would give them their needs, and then the salespeople go back and quote, and then we create this giant folder of paper and pass it along the process. Whereas now, manufacturers and distributors, we have to be so much more nimble because the demands of the customer are so much more. And the great thing is we have the technology available to do that. Again, customers really are looking, and Jonathan, I'm sure you can speak to it as we talk. Your customers really want to see your product with their logos and the way they want it, versus some sort of a picture versus, they want to be able to interact with it. So as we move through, and I touched on this a little bit briefly, like the old world way thing is just long sales cycles, the post-sales process being super long and labor intensive. People would want to do it, communicate, but they couldn't get things out of their ERP. But the new world really is about people being able to have instant quoting. Everybody wants an instant gratification. But we've got to have, as a manufacturer, we've got to have rules that people can play with. So, in the new world, having a rules-based visual configurator that gives instant pricing, and then also shopping cart to shop floor flow through is critical, because people want things now, and that it's too expensive to make mistakes and have to ship things back and forth. So by being able to take the shopping cart to the shop floor, I think it's an awesome concept, and I think that Zenith definitely has done a really good job of helping their customers visualize what they're going to get. Just a quick blurb about KBMax. we've been central to a lot of digital transformations across the world. 36 countries are home to our users right now. We've been in business for 12 years, so we're far from a startup. And we have over 400,000 unique monthly users, meaning, customers out there using our configurator to make selections and then pass them along to manufacturers. And then, there's a bunch of logos down here that you may or may not recognize, but some of the biggest brands in the world use KBMax as the sort of the brains behind the digital transformation. But it's enough about the setup. Let's talk about Zenith a little bit. And Jonathan, can you tell us a little bit about this is a great slide. It talks about your journey. What was happening before and then what was after. Maybe you can walk us through a little bit of the challenges that you had before KBMax.
Sure. Yeah, and a little context here. So about 3.5 years ago, I was actually the first technology hire at Zenith. So, I think you talked about it earlier, but if manufacturing is 20 years behind Amazon, then the sporting goods manufacturing is probably 40 years behind Amazon. So there's quite a difference there, I would say, from some of the businesses that I've been involved with in the past. So, when I first joined the company, we really started to look at the company from the inside out in building towards a better customer experience overall. At the end of the day, that's all we're trying to achieve. We're a better way to serve our customers. And so we always kind of tie everything we do back to that sort of mantra. And so, when we started building out over the last 3 years, our internal operations using technology to leverage our internal data, leverage our sales processes, optimize them for efficiency, all these sorts of things. And we're by no means done there. But KBMax was a really great fit into where we're at in this strategy of transformation right now. So, our industry for sporting goods, specifically football, hasn't really changed much in the last 40, 50 years. Like you said, sales rep shows up to the locker room, pulls out his bag of helmets that he can, show the coach, and go through the sales pitch that way. Now, that's still a very key important part of this business. Customers still really want to touch and feel the product, and it's key for our ability, to selling to our B2B customers, which are what we would consider our coaches and athletic directors, and those folks responsible for buying equipment for schools and programs. Obviously, luckily we kicked off this project maybe about a month before COVID hit. So we kind of had it primed up, perfect timing, because then COVID hit and then everybody was remote for the next 9 months, and in most cases still remote. And so, we had a good time to market there on a project to get, some of our products into a configurator and really try to lean into this consumer change in behavior for purchasing. And that's something we as a company are leaning into and doubling down on in a lot of cases. And, KBMax has been core to that transformation there. So, from our perspective, we really had a lot of different products that are pretty complex. We're a made to order business, so we don't have pre-made helmets sitting on the shelf that are just waiting to be picked and shipped. If you think about the different schools out there and the different college programs and NFL programs, how important the look and the feel of their colors and their helmets are. It's part of that pageantry of football, so to speak. And so for us, it's really important that we, have a efficient way to create all of these configurations for these products. If you took all the different permutations of data and information that you can configure a football helmet, it's in the billions, right? When you start to include the different models and the different sizes and which face masks we have in inventory and which ones are compatible with which size helmets and all these sorts of complex business rules, it gets pretty complicated. And you can imagine, someone having to maintain all of those types of rules in their head, it's not as efficient. So we ran into plenty of issues around people submitting orders that were unbuildable in a lot of cases because they didn't meet the rules. So that was a big part of what we were trying to solve. But we wanted to make sure that we weren't just building a tool for our inside sales team. It was going to be something that we were going to build on for years to come and expand on for the next foreseeable future because of these shifts in consumer behavior. So that's obviously where KBMax came in. It was that centralized configurator. We've kind of consolidated or are in the process of consolidating all of our different configurators onto one platform, and plugging in all of our integrations into one platform and kind of streamlining the configuration and management process. Really focused on integrating our core business to a configurator. At the end of the day, we're a made-to-order manufacturer, so configuration is key for us to be able to react timely.
Yeah, I can imagine. As everybody sees the latest and greatest in helmets at the NFL, then they want to have it in their high school team. I'm pretty sure every time. I can certainly tell you that when I looked at the configurator, I was definitely wishing I was still back in high school, getting to pick out my helmet from Zenith. That's for sure. Obviously we had a product launch, and this is just a short video of some of the things all the choices that you mentioned. Jonathan, I can't imagine being a sales rep and trying to remember all these combinations, like what's possible and what's not possible. As you talk about, because I'm sure, like you said, some size helmets don't actually allow for certain kind of a face mask to work, for example. What's been the reaction of your sales teams to the tool?
Yeah, so I mean, for the most part, right now the inside sales reps are really using this to visualize quotes, right? Obviously, for what they're quoting. So a big part of it is making sure that the customer kind of understands what we're actually shipping them, or what we plan to ship them anyways. So that's a big part of the visualization of it, because it's easy to lay out, here's all the options you selected, but until you can see it, right, in a visual format, it's going to be kind of abstract in your mind, to try to visualize, okay, I chose metal clips with white straps with a black, front bumper, and, all these different little attributes. So, it's been really important for us for the sales team, to be able to leverage this to send along with the quotes, so that we can, better visualize. And ultimately what we want at the end of the day is that, like I said, a better customer experience. And so the more often we are accurate with what we ship them, and what they were envisioning in their own minds, the better customer experience we can provide.
Yeah, because I have to believe that, you want this customer for forever. Once they pick a Zenith helmet, you want that high school or that college to use that for forever. And I can only imagine when you get the helmets in and they have black straps, and one guy looks at the other person and says, I thought we ordered white straps.
Right.
And then one guy, or whatever. So I think it makes total sense. And then, this is another slide, obviously shows all the customizations that you guys can do. It's absolutely amazing.
And I think, sorry to interrupt you there, but specifically what I wanted to call out here was, the long-term vision has always been to extend this directly to the customer. And so, while initially we have it already put on our e-commerce site, which is a completely different part of our business, which is individual consumers buying equipment, but the vast majority of equipment in football is purchased through a distributor, or through a dealer, or through a direct relationship with a sales rep. And so our digital transformation journey knows that a big part of the future of selling in this industry is going to be some type of online B2B portal. And so in the midst of COVID, we actually launched. We hadn't planned to originally. This wasn't on our roadmap, but we knew we needed to react quickly. So we actually launched this whole new team buying experience for our B2B side of our business. And it was great because we could just pick up what we had already built and leveraged and plug it into this new platform. You can kind of see it there on the screen. So instead of an individual consumer buying journey where, you might take different paths, you can see here, we're actually thinking about the coach in this perspective. Okay, let's try to envision your whole team and how do we make the self-quoting process for you that much easier. So rather than having to wait for someone to return with a quote, you could go generate your own quote here. And so that's a journey that we started, and we've got a long way to go before I would say this is, a key driver for us, but we know how important it is for us in the future. And it's also become just a great lead generation tool overall, which is obviously key to our strategy on the B2B side.
Well, and I have to believe if you're a coach and you're picking helmets and there's a lot of people in that process that have opinions. I think they're called parents and I'm sure athletic directors and everything. So allowing, your customers to collaborate, it's got to be just a massive advantage to getting buy-in, and boy, you're really at the cutting edge of this stuff. It's awesome.
That's right. Yeah, it's I think football and sports maybe in general are a little unique in that the parent and the coach are kind of collaborating here, but at the end of the day, there's one child that's playing the sport. So in a lot of cases, we try to find different ways to get our products onto as many players as we can, and clearly online has taken a big step forward here in the post-COVID era.
Yeah,
and then here,
sure.
This with the slide that you're on here is really exciting to us because, during this whole process, we decided to actually open up a whole new business line. Team uniforms is not something we were in before COVID. And so, we had been playing around with a few different things, but it was really important for us to, plug in that same sort of technology and configuration. In this case, the experience for buying is just as important as the product, and we really want to make sure we're tying those together.
Great. Well, you have amazing product, and I'd like to maybe, we're coming up a little bit on time, and congratulations for what you did. Tell me about, I think what most of people that were going to watch this, what would be some advice that you could give everyone as they embark on a digital transformation? Specifically, it sounds like with the advent of COVID, you got a lot of buy-in really, really quickly. But to your point, you had already started on the project, so you already had buy-in. So what are some things that people could think about as they embark on a digital transformation?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I know a lot of digital transformations run into roadblocks. And so my advice would definitely be geared towards those key roadblocks. And it's at the end of the day, it's about the people. It's not about the technology. It's not about the cool solution that you can create. It really is about your people. It's about your internal employees. It's about your customers. It's about parents. It's about everyone involved with the buying experience and with your customer experience in general. And so what I would say is, if you're going to go on this path, this can't just be a one department project. This is a company initiative, and it has to be built with inside out. You really need to have buy-in from the top level all the way down to the bottom level. You got to sell why it's important for the person on the plant floor, right? You got to sell why it's important to the executive that's, potentially funding this. So what I would say is the most important thing is actually to make sure you have a good internal marketing and you're really understanding the impact that digital transformation will have on the future of all buying, I should say. And so, make sure that you're addressing the people part of the people process and technology triangle, not just relying on one of those individual things.
Yeah, I love it. I don't know that I've ever heard anybody talk about it in terms of you need an internal marketing campaign to sell the digital transformation. And from I think what I heard you say really clearly though was it's about people. And so, if it's the manufacturing floor, or it's the sales reps, or it's the coaches, or the people, or the kids that are wearing the helmets.
That's right.
In doing a digital transformation, you got to keep all of those groups. Oh, we forgot the parents too, the ones that are helping out with the whole thing. It's a lot of audiences to take care of. That's a really good point.
We had created sort of an internal banner called the Shift to Digital. And so that's what kind of led us through it. Oh,
what a neat idea. Yeah, because you have to sell the change before the change comes, that's for sure. Because it sounds to me like you've changed every aspect of your business.
Just about, and we've got plenty more to go.
Yeah, well, that's exciting. Well, congratulations on a successful project. The results are amazing, and makes me want to buy a football helmet again. So it's pretty compelling, since it's unlikely I'm ever going to strap another helmet on. Jonathan, thank you for the time. It's been really good to hear your experiences. And with that, I'll turn it back to Marissa.
Well, thank you so much, Jonathan and Steve, for that great presentation and conversation. I wanted to let everyone know, if you have any questions for Steve or Jonathan, please do type those into the chat. They'll be delighted to respond to you. You can also use the speakers widget on the screen to connect with them directly on LinkedIn to continue the conversation. Once again, thank you so much, Steve and Jonathan. Great hearing from you, and we'll look forward to hearing from you at one of our future events.
All right. Thanks, Marissa.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Jonathan. You got it. Bye-bye.